Hi, I'm Rebecca Hunt, and this is my screencast for my lesson plan. I started off with this lesson plan project. I use various Web 2.0 tools to teach my second graders how to write a narrative story, and I wanted it to include character, setting, problems, and solutions. I used these Georgia's Standard of Excellence. Most of them were from the reading and writing part of the standards, and the ISTE student standards were here that I use for digital tools and publishing stories and internet safety. I began with a KWL chart on what I know and what I wonder, and I asked my children what they knew already about stories and story writing and what they wanted to know about stories and story writing. And after the lesson finished, I will assess them on what they learned throughout the project. For an activating thinking strategy, I used a Scholastic magazine called From the Mind of Mo. And on this magazine, it tells us about the author Mo and what he goes through to begin writing his stories and to get the ideas going. So that gave the children an idea of what an author has to do. The next thing I did was use Puppet Pals, and the children really liked this. It's an iPad app, and it allows the children to make stories using character settings, problems, and solutions. This part went really well. I was a little concerned at first because they had never used it before, and I was worried that it would not flow, but it did. So I will definitely be using this app again. Another thing that I did that I loved was I used Skype to get knowledge outside of my classroom. And I found a storyteller on Skype for Educators, and her name is Mrs. P. And she's from the magic world of reading, writing, and storytelling. And she was a storyteller that told children stories using problem settings, solution, and characters, and really opened their eyes to what a good story sounds like. So I was very, very, very impressed with this part of my lesson. The next thing I did was the children went on storyboard.com and they made stories on this website to publish them. I had a student teacher in my room during this time, which made it easier to manage. Had I not had a student teacher, it might not have been as easy because of the time constraint that it took. The children wrote stories on Storyboard and published them. This is one of my favorites called The Friend, and it's about a little boy who really wanted a friend and was lonely, and that was his problem. And he finally was able to meet a friend, and they had fun and lived happily ever after. After I did Storybird, I had the children create a picture of what they wanted their cover of their book to look like if they could make their own. And the Erasma here is what that you see here. It shows the drawing that she made, and then I used the iPad Erasma app, and this is what we did with that.
This story is called The Mermaid's Friend. This story is about
I had the children describe their stories and tell them about the problems, solution, characters, and setting that were in their story. I also gave the children the option of doing a screencast if they did not want to stand up in front to be recorded. So that was a way I differentiated in that lesson. A rubric that I used for the story bird that I gave to the children before it was done. And then I also had a presentation rubric to grade them on so that they would know what I was looking for in the presentation. I had learning contracts for higher level children so they could work at their own pace. And I also had a story element assessment that I gave after the lesson so that I could assess their knowledge of story elements. And I also filled in the L part of the KWL at the end to also get more information on what they knew. I feel that this lesson was one of my best lessons in 16 years of teaching. I feel that by the end of the lesson, the children had a good and deep understanding of narrative writing. The one problem that I did have was children were not logging out of Storybird when they had finished for the day, and when other children went in, Storybird automatically put them onto the other child's account. So I had story writing in accounts that were not that child's story, so I had to work on getting that fixed. So I would definitely, work on that if I ever had to do this lesson again. So I thank you for watching this video, and please let me know if you have any questions.